Good evening. I'm Lisa Broom with the Thursday, March 5th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story, Prime Minister Fendel Stewart wants Barbadians to lift themselves from a level of mediocrity which is plaguing the country and instead strive for a hallmark of excellence. He made the call while addressing repeat visitors to Barbados at Illawarra Court. The monthly event runs during the December to April tourism season and hosts visitors who have made Barbados a yearly destination, some for as long as 40 years. Dale Ford was there and filed this report.
Following presentations from the George Lamin School, which was supported on the guitar by former Calypso monarch the Mighty Gabby, the Prime Minister suggested that mediocrity is becoming entrenched. He says while there are certain matters Barbadians have no control over, like the international cost of fuel, citizens can aim continually to work at a level of excellence.
We take hold of that answer, therefore, and determine that we are going to set the highest possible standards for ourselves, that we're going to frown on mediocrity in respect of those things that we produce in the form of goods, and in respect of those things we produce in the form of services, that in our general conduct we are going to adhere strictly to standards of excellence.
Noting that this year's tourism season is encouraging, Prime Minister Stewart says security is an issue of development and one of the key factors in the success of the local tourism product. He told visitors that the money they spend goes towards the foreign reserves and keeps the country afloat. He says in turn, Barbados has to make sure it has a well-maintained hotel plant, efficient transportation and telecommunications, and places of interest to visit. However, Prime Minister Stewart says security has to be right.
Security for us is not just a matter of having policemen on the streets or having soldiers assisting policemen in their patrols. Security for us is an issue of development, because no matter what else we have in place, and when visitors come here, they don't feel safe, all of what we have in place goes through the window and is of no account.
The final event for this winter season is expected next month. Dale Ford for CBC News.
Dale, thanks. Barbados is about to step up its efforts to deal with people trying to enter the country illegally or overstay their time. Word of this from Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Senator Darcy Boyce, during debate on the Immigration Amendment Bill 2015. He says government has decided to begin capturing through the Immigration Department the biometric information of people coming into the island.
Capture their fingerprints, capture their retina scans and so on, and record them digitally, so that we are able to trace somebody who is sent out. If they attempt to re-enter, then we'll be able to pick them up by way of that comparison. If people are supposed to leave the country, we'll be able very easily to find out that they've left, because we'll have the biometric data when they leave the country.
Senator Boyce says every effort will also be made to ensure the information collected is secured, and the governing legislation will contain penalties for anyone who misuses it.
Once that data gets collected and goes onto a computer database, we want to make sure that people do not maliciously go and access that data and use it for nefarious purposes. We want to make sure that it has around it the same level of protection as under the Electronic Transactions Act would obtain.
New procurement legislation will be going to Parliament to improve the local business setting. This from Education Minister Ronald Jones.
There is soon to be brought a new procurement legislation to help guide this process, and to some extent that is where Parliament will be engaged in its discussion Just before that, the Committee of Governance of Cabinet will look at this overall refinement to be taken to full Cabinet, then to the House of Assembly once fully agreed on.
Family and friends of Barbados' most recent road fatality, Jamie Kenroy Selman, have held a vigil in his memory. The relatives and friends gathered at the St. Barnabas Church and walked in the area where the 36-year-old was struck by a motorist at the junction near the Bussa statue. He was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, where he died 2 days later as a result of his injuries. Selman's friend, Shernell Blackman, shared her memories of the young man.
Jamie was the neighborhood person. Everybody in the neighborhood knew Jamie, took care of Jamie. Jamie would show everybody every morning, and what can I say? It's sad that Jamie has gone, and the whole neighborhood would surely miss Jamie. He was a fun-filled person, a person with a lot of energy. Whenever Jamie was around, you had to laugh. You couldn't get too vexed with Jamie for too long, because then it's always something Jamie would come up with that had to make you laugh. Up to the shopkeeper, everybody, Jamie was a fun-filled person.
A charge that some local businesses are pushing the notion of a 24-hour economy for their own benefit while ignoring the rights of workers. It comes from Barbados Workers Union General Secretary Tony Moore, who is expressing concern about the agenda being pushed by some stakeholders, particularly in the private sector. She says it appears that some of them have lost focus, and explains how such a move could impact workers' rights, especially women.
It seems that the objective is not merely seeking where you can tap into benefits that would redound to everybody, but for a small section of players who would wish to see us eradicate overtime, so that in a 24-hour system, you would be required to work any set of 8 hours in that day at flat time, where the conventions that make provision for night work would not be adhered to, and where women, and women in particular who have the responsibility for child care and responsibility for elderly care, would be disadvantaged.
Ms. Moore gave her take on the situation during a seminar at BWU Labour College at Mangrove St. Philip. Well, that's where the union began its week of events in the lead up to celebrations for International Women's Day on Sunday under the theme Empowering Women, Empowering Humanity, Picturing. There, she also called on government to enact the long-awaited sexual harassment legislation.
We have had the discussions in draft for some time, and we need to get our Ministry of Labour fulfilling the objective that it set and the commitment that has been given to having in place sexual harassment legislation.
2 school children were injured in an accident in Church Village, St. Philip this morning. Luckily, according to Police Public Relations Officer, Acting Superintendent David Welch, the siblings only suffered abrasions about their bodies. 10-year-old Shamira Andrew of Chapel, St. Philip, and her brother, 3-year-old Caleb Franklin, were walking along Church Village Road when they were hit by a pickup. That vehicle was driven by 52-year-old Stacia Austin. The children were taken to hospital, treated and discharged. We'll have more news after the break, but first we want to get your take on this question. Should Barbados have a national debate on the issue of excellence? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the results at the end of the news.
Dear Clark, I've made a fascinating discovery, the institutional water cooler. Its gravitational pull sucks people from their workstations at the busiest times of day to stand around it and chat about emerging global trends like, will pink be in fashion next season? Meanwhile, the world slows to a stop as it waits in line to be served. I don't see that trend at Globe Finance.
Globe Finance. Think outside the bank.
When it comes to their financial service, slow is out, swift is in.
Something fresh is here. Fresh Vitamins, the ultimate health food store, is here in Barbados. Visit today for the highest quality in sports nutrition, multivitamins, weight management, sexual well-being, herbal supplements, mineral supplements, gluten-free and organic foods, as well as your health and beauty needs. Visit Fresh Vitamins today. Join our discount club for even more savings with all your favorite brands at unbeatable prices. Visit any of our convenient locations near you today.
I admire Winter Crawford. I admired his tenacity. I admired his determination to write and speak the truth. And I admired his sense of urgency.
The truth is that his first priority was the people of Barbados. He loved this country, and he loved the people.
Tales from the Tombs on CBC TV 8 and on the internet via the World Wide Web.cbc.bb, Sunday at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Caribbean Time. Tales from the Tombs.
One local entrepreneur has taken his marketing to the streets, giving Barbadians not only an insight into his various products, but seeing him at work creating them from coral stone blocks. Omar Ward of Rock Hall, St. Thomas, was hard at work sculpting away along Highway 2A near the St. Thomas Church. He tells CBC News his efforts at marketing his business, Coral by Hand, have paid off.
The response is awesome, man. The response is just tremendous, great. Sales, mostly that some person will pass or people will pass and they will see the stuff, they will start, they will collect a card, they will call me later and ask me about it, or some of this pieces here, so these people don't see what I could do, so they order something totally different, because most people want something custom made, right? So anything custom made, I just made.
Ward, who has been sculpting for 16 years, has big dreams for his business. His 9-year-old son, Renil, too, has even taken up the craft. He credits his former boss for some of his successes. Now, this 32-year-old would even consider teaching the art in schools. He's advising youngsters with a dream to follow their heart.
If you know you got talent, come on. It'll be hard at the first, but at least more and more people get to know you, it's better for you. So you don't expect that you start a business today and get money the same day. It's a process. You have to go through a process. Everybody, almost every business have been through the same process.
A senior member of the University of the West Indies at Cave Hill says financial institutions need to adjust their terms and conditions set on student loans. Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Dr. Justin Robinson, says a new funding model has to be developed, making it more flexible for students wanting to study.
I sincerely hope that in the short or near future that we will see a greater convergence between the terms and conditions on student loans that are offered by the revolving fund and those offered by the private financial institutions. If we are to have sustainable access to university education where students have to fund this on their own, it's going to be absolutely essential that the terms and conditions offered by the commercial banks, credit unions, and finance houses converge or become rather more similar to those offered by the revolving fund. And I think that's a crucial development as we attempt to fill out this funding model.
This year's Holders Season Festival promises to be an exciting one. The event is in its 22nd year and will see a number of artists and actors showcasing their talents at Holders House. Executive Director of the festival, Stuart Collins, provided some insight into what will be featured during the season, slated to take place from March 7th to 21st.
What we're doing again, as we've done over the number of years, is to sort of try and create different evenings that have a different flavour for different audiences. So we'll have a comedy night, we'll have a jazz night, we'll have a music from around the world night, a theatre night, and again, that's how we're doing it.
As businesses look for ways to reduce cost by streamlining their operations, a local company has launched a new service designed to help achieve that objective. It's called Managed Print Services and is offered by Productive Business Solutions Barbados. The company explained how it works to some of its clients at the Hilton Hotel this afternoon. The service is built on 4 main pillars: cost management and control, productivity and availability, environmental sustainability, and security and compliance. PBS General Manager Elvin Nash talks about the benefits to businesses.
Able to come into your environment, your business, and evaluate where you have areas to trim cost and where to have your people more efficient. Because when we bring our management services to your organization, it frees up the resources that you have tied up looking after printers, and whether the supply is running low or you have a paper jam. Our service brings our expertise into your business so that your people can focus on what is core business to you. So it increases the productivity of each of our client business.
Also addressing the gathering was business manager at Xerox Distribution Group for Latin America and the Caribbean, Martin Sharp. He says the service also helps to achieve the improved efficiency businesses are seeking by not just focusing on consolidation, but optimism as well.
Optimization is having the right device in the right place at the right time. And a very simple way of looking at that is thinking about how many of us have multifunctional devices with copy, scan, fax, print that sit in an environment, when in reality we're printing simple black and white A4. So an assessment highlights these areas and allows you to use your devices in the most effective way to make sure that you have a managed print environment that's cost effective and optimized to meet what business needs you've got.
A group of residents from Rockley New Road in Christchurch are up in arms over planned roadworks in the area. The work forms part of government's mains laying program but is being executed through a private company. This section of the work calls for mains to be laid through the very narrow Rockley New Road, part of which leads into a cul-de-sac. And this is where, according to residents, the main bone of contention lies. The residents, accompanied by MP for the area, Dr. Maria Agard, gathered at the home of Hawaii Wheel to outline their concerns to the media. They say they are not against the project being done, but some of the regulations which have been communicated through subcontractors Infra-Caribbean are too restrictive, and they believe in most cases the regulations will impact their day-to-day life. Residents were informed via letter that the project will run for 10 weeks from 8:30 a.m. until 4 p.m. and during this time vehicular access would be restricted. And this, according to Mrs. Wheel, is one of their biggest concerns.
They're telling us we can't go home after 4:30 and we are to leave before 8 o'clock. So go figure. The children who have to be picked up and dropped at 11 to preschool, the primary school children, the secondaries, the ones who are doing 11 plus and CXE, their entire lives will be disrupted because they can't come home till after 4:30 on a day. And if their school starts at 8:30, it doesn't matter. You have to leave at 7:30 to get out of here. And in between then, don't bother to come.
She also says while emergency vehicles will be allowed access, the company's proposal to backfill any open trenches to facilitate this does not sound feasible. A concern which Dr. Agard says is more than reasonable.
We have already articulated the possibilities of medical emergencies in a predominantly aging society where a medical emergency is a very real concern. We believe that in such cases, access needs to be almost immediate. And unfortunately, we have not received any guarantee from the subcontractors that provision and speedy provision will be made in cases of emergencies.
Another resident, Jenny Codrington, says she's communicated via email several times with the contractor and the Barbados Water Authority, but the responses have not been satisfactory. She says two residents suggested alternate access routes in an earlier meeting with the contractors, but those proposals don't seem to have been taken on board. And Lorna Rose acknowledges that the construction company has tried to communicate with residents regarding their concerns, but says they haven't been thorough.
What they have not done, I certainly feel they have not done, is put sufficient investigation and planning into providing us with alternative access. If they have to carry out and they have to do what they have to do, there are possibilities that they could be doing to make our lives more safer, I think is the ultimate criteria.
The Barbados Water Authority's corporate communications specialist, Joyanne Haig, says they are aware of the situation. She says a BWA team, including the general manager, the project manager and herself, will meet with the residents tomorrow to try and address their concerns. Ms. Haig is confident they will reach an amicable solution. Well, still to come, a look at some of the stories making headlines across the region. But first, here is a reminder that we want to hear from you on the question. Should Barbados have a national debate on the issue of excellence? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the result for you at the end of the news. And remember, you can also follow us on Twitter, our handle at CBC_Barbados, and on our Facebook page, CBC News Barbados.
When we use our passion to create something special, we cherish the experience that brings the result. It isn't always smooth sailing, but that's the beauty of it. Because through experience and the help of knowledgeable partners, we learn and grow together. And we dream bolder dreams for the future. Confident that your passion and our expertise will bring an ever bright tomorrow. ICBL. Always there when you need us most.
You've heard about the CBTF, right? The Competency-Based Training Fund, where employers and trainers in any sector can receive funding to train employees.
CBTF training is about being competent. So it's not only knowing, it's doing.
You are now going to be certified as an entrepreneur in your own right. Get the entrepreneurs in the skill bracket that they have a qualification that they can use.
Find out how by logging on to cbtf.com.bb for more details or calling 227-9090. Imagine your business better, more competitive, more efficient with an employee training grant from the CBTF, the Competency-Based Training Fund, investing in skills for the future.